All right. Well, welcome to another edition of the Talking Tomahawk podcast. I'm Seth. That's Alan. Alan, welcome back from vacation. We missed you last week. It was a good week to disappear. So things have changed since the last time we spoke. Things were starting to look up. We were beating the Mets. We were potentially discussing being optimistic about a postseason run. And in the last 11 games, the Braves are now 2-9 in the last 11 games and have been surpassed by the Miami Marlins in the NL East standings. Didier Fuentes is 20 days into being 20 years old, and he's holding down a regular spot in the rotation with 12 earned runs in just 12 innings. Bryce Elder is throwing 91 miles an hour and missing routinely over the plate with every other pitch. He looks like Kevin Gausman when he played for the Braves, but at 91 miles an hour. And if Bryce Elder were 10 years old, I used to coach 10-year-olds. He's doing exactly what we wanted them to do and couldn't get them to do, and that's put it right over the heart of the plate. Yeah. It's pretty rough to watch. I love rooting for Bryce Elder, but this is just where the Braves are with their rotation right now after all these injuries. And one note on Didier Fuentes, rooting for him. He had some good minor league numbers. He doesn't have much out of low A. He has a few innings in high A even, and then just 4, I think it was, in triple A. They were talking about a breaking ball he's been throwing for 6 years on one of the broadcasts, and I was sitting there going, well, wait, he was throwing it for 6 years. That means he started throwing it in like junior high. So yeah. This is where we are, and even with those two sore spots in the rotation, we are we have a spot for a bullpen day at this point. So we're going to address the rotation. We're going to address the potential downfall of the Braves. Is it worth making a move at the deadline, or do they wave the white flag? And first of all, we're going to take a look at our starting outfielder in the All-Star game and a home run derby participant, Ronald Acuna Jr. He has cooled down after his red-hot start. At first, he was hitting everything and hitting it hard and hitting it far. Made it easy to overlook all the strikeouts. But now that he's not hitting, strikeouts are really piling up. Alan, why is Acuna not hitting the baseball anymore?
Well, when the last time we got together, we were suggesting that teams probably ought to start walking him. And the Mets actually did that in the first series that they had. They walked him 6 times in those 3 games. That didn't work so well for them. They got swept. But what they ended up finding, and other teams have found out too, is that if you just go ahead and pitch to Ronald, he'll get himself out. And that's been part of the problem. He's in a bad funk. There's no doubt about that. His contact rate for balls in the strike zone is almost at the lowest of his entire career. It's now under 77%. That's just not sustainable for him. It was 88% during his MVP year. He's also swinging at pitches in the zone less often than at any point in his career. That's under 63%. So as a result, he's getting more called strikes than usual. That's 15.5%. So between his whiffing and his watching, he's nearly at the highest non-contact strike percentage of his career, and that's putting the pitchers in charge of his at-bats. That's just, again, not sustainable for him. Now, I can't complain about him swinging at or contacting pitches outside the strike zone. He's doing that at about a career average pace, but it's all about pitches in the zone that he's having trouble with. So what are those pitches that he's having trouble with? Well, he's seeing more sliders, curves, sinkers, splitters, cutters, and even knuckle curves. Basically, anything that bends. If he gets fastballs thrown to him, that's a different story. But those are down by 13%, way lower than he's ever seen before. Changeups even are down too. So that's why Ronnie can't hit. You bend something to him, put it in the strike zone, and he's going to swing and miss at it. He's just not recognizing those pitches and not making contact with them. And unfortunately, that's a pretty strong trend, and it suggests that the league has got him figured out, and he's just going to have to adjust to it. While we're talking about Acuna, might as well mention Austin Riley, too. He's also flailing just a bit. His zone contact rate is also down, though not as bad as Acuna's. It is at the lowest rate of which is 81% since his rookie season. So he's also chasing bad pitches slightly more than the last couple of years. The only other notable changes in his plate discipline is that he's seeing fewer first pitch strikes thrown to him by 5%. So that's not dramatic. And the pitch types, the pitch mix that he's seeing is also not changing dramatically, not nearly like what Acuna is seeing. So in the short term, he's probably got a better chance of getting back into form more quickly than Acuna. And when he's on, you'll see that because Riley will fight off a lot of tough pitches. That's harder to do when he's missing more often. So if he gets back to making better contact, I think that'll help solve itself. Hopefully, it's a temporary thing, but part of the problem also may be a lack of base runners getting on base ahead of him. Note that he's hitting 330 with men on base and 230 when the sacks are empty. So that's Acuna's issue is breaking pitches, and Riley's issue is just making good contact generally. Um, Meanwhile, I got to do a call out to Murphy and Olson, and especially Sean Murphy. He's got, I mean, in the past 11 games that the Braves gone 2-9, they've only scored 28 runs. 20 of those have came in just three of those games, and they even managed to lose one of those. But 15 RBIs of those 28 runs have come from just two guys, Murphy and Olson. Murphy has done all of his damage in half of the plate appearances of Olson, and that's despite striking out 52% of the time, which probably explains why his OPS is only 952 coming into Sunday's game, which he left with 2 for 4 and another homer and another strikeout. So it's pretty much two true outcomes for Murphy right now, homer or strikeout. That's probably not sustainable either. He's obviously on a home run tear, but um, I can't see that that's sustainable. So he's going to need to get some more support around him. Otherwise, the Braves aren't going to score a lot of runs, period. So that's how I'm seeing it right now. Why Ronnie can't hit? Because he can't hit the breaking pitches. Maybe he's not recognizing the breaking pitches either, and Riley's not helping him either. So there you go. That's my diagnosis.
It's strange, because when he had the MVP season, that strikeout rate, it looks like it was an anomaly, plummeted,
Yeah,
plummeted to something like just 11%. I don't have the stats in front of me. It was very low for a guy that's been in the 20s, mid 20s, even high
right.
20s his whole career. And then once that year was over, it seemed like it just went right back up to where it used to be. And this year, I don't know if you have the numbers, but it feels like it's very high
About
this year. It feels like he struck out
36%,
a
I
lot.
think. Yeah, about 36%. Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely up, and that comes from the fact that he's missing all those pitches, and the pitchers are in control of the count with him. Yeah,
Yeah, that's too high. That's too high. Another thing I was thinking of when you mentioned Riley was chasing at a rate that I guess you said not since his rookie year, and was thinking about how far he's come since his rookie year. It's hard to remember sometimes. He's been such a good player the last few years.
yeah,
How bad that drop off was his rookie year.
yeah.
That was pretty incredible to think about. He sure has come a long way, but that is beside the point of how bad the Braves are right now. And that's what we want to focus on today. Um, so let's move on to another bad Brave right now, and that would be Marcel Ozuna. Marcel, the
Mhm.
Big Bear, is causing some big problems for us. He's 5 for 37 in the past 11 games. He's hitting 135 over that time. And in fact, I have benched him in my fantasy league among other Braves. And Ozuna's problems go back, as we all know, far beyond the past 11 games that we've been looking at. He's been dealing with this hip injury since I think around mid-April. And if you look at May 1st, since May 1st, Ozuna's hitting 218, slugging just 336. That's a long time. Over the last 11 games, which was the sample size I was looking at because we were looking at the Braves being 2-9 and just destroying all of our hopes and dreams, Ozuna's 355 OPS is only better than one other Brave, and that's Michael Harris's 313. when you're in Michael Harris territory, especially the way he's been the last 2 years, it's bad. It's very bad. And the reason we're talking about this is because if Ozuna, back to Ozuna, if he is damaged goods, the Braves aren't getting anything for him at the deadline. He's going to need to get healthy fast and show it with production. Now, he's been
Right.
saying he's been feeling better. They've been reporting that, but it's not showing. And this is maybe one of the worst stretches, maybe the worst stretch of the season for him. Do you think Ozuna will turn this around? And do you think he will be here after the trade deadline?
Alex Anthopoulos has said that guys on long-term contracts won't be dealt, but this might be an exception. He is on the last year of his deal. There's no options, no nothing after this season. So I suspect Alex may go to Ozuna and say, "Look, you're winding down. Would you like to perhaps go to a contender? Because we might be able to get a deal for you." And if he says yes, then here's what I would do for the as Brian Snicker. I would get Ozuna healthy. We've got the All-Star break coming up next week. Give him the day off on that last game before the All-Star break against the Cardinals. Give him the entire All-Star break and tell him, don't move. Go sit down, get in a recliner, stay there. And even when they come back from the All-Star break, maybe give him yet one more day off. Give him practically a week to get healed, and then bring him back and let's see what he can do. If he can hit the ball, that'll become apparent pretty quickly. And if he can, the Braves might be able to get a decent prospect for him, particularly if they pick up some of the cash that's involved. Um, I can't see that, a lot of teams want offense. Pitching is usually available in one form or another. Hitting is the trouble. And I don't know which teams right now, I haven't surveyed them to see which ones really need a DH. And let's be fair, he's not going to do anything but DH. But if he can hit a little bit, that becomes a guy that may have some value, and the Braves may be able to buy a little bit of a better prospect from him. So my guess is if he gets healthy enough, then there's probably a 75% chance that he's gone by the end of this month. Um, Beyond that, if they can't get him healthy, then he's probably not going anywhere because he's not worth anything, unfortunately. And they're just going to have to figure out how to make that work.
So it could end up being a farewell tour to a gimpy Ozuna.
Well, unfortunately, the big bear may be headed to other environs. Uh,
I had a note here to talk about a bright spot. Jurickson Profar, 6 for 21 since his
yep.
return with a couple of homers, slugging 571. You mentioned Olson and Riley, but honestly, I told you I don't really want to talk about bright spots right now. I want to be grumpy. Let's be grumpy today.
Well, then
Because we
don't
all feel
mention
like that.
Profar. Profar definitely is a guy who has something to prove or feels like he has something to prove. I just hope that it lasts more than just 4 games, and we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, he's definitely got some making up to do with Atlanta Braves fans, and I like what I see so far. But unfortunately, the last 80 games we could really use that.
Yep. Big hole there. And say they did make a run. Say they made a run and made the postseason, and he's not even eligible for the postseason. So then,
Yep.
it's, as if it's bad enough, you've already got four guys, really the way it is right now at the bottom of the lineup that just aren't hitting. Take away Profar, and
Yeah.
it's just it's not a good outlook. So there, we did it, Alan. We turned the bright spot, the one lone bright spot I had on the notes, into a bad spot, a negative spot, a
There you
deep
go.
dark hole in a cave. So I want to move on to well, again, I don't want to be optimistic. I was going to look ahead at some of the teams that maybe we can do this later that are ahead of you. Keep talking about all the teams the Braves would have to skip to make a wild card spot. There are some teams they could, if they could get something going, skip past. When you look at the Diamondbacks rotation troubles they're having, the Reds, Hunter Green just had his rehab start pushback, and I had some notes on different, how so there are a lot of teams that are struggling, similar to how we are right now.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you get up there to the top level competition, there's a pretty good cluster of teams that could just, they're gonna the Braves don't really match up with them either way, pitching or on offense. So I'm not really going to get into all that either. We're going to keep it negative and say, what's the point? But I do want to ask you, what can the Braves do with their rotation moving forward? Because there's 2 points here. If the Braves were to somehow try to make a move to not give up, not wave the white flag, but didn't want to, go after maybe a big name or someone that would cost a lot, because we don't really have a lot to give at this point anyway.
Mhm.
I do want to mention there is a veteran pitcher that's out there on a team that looks like they might be sellers at the deadline. He's been very bad this year. He'd be a wonderful fit on the Braves rotation. However, he was so bad, he was removed from the starting rotation for his current team, and then since May 26th, he reclaimed a spot in the rotation, and since then has posted a 2.9 ERA with a 27% strikeout rate in his last 6 starts. Can you guess who that is?
Pray tell, let's not hold everybody in suspense. Let's hear it.
It's Charlie Morton.
And we got firsthand sight of him last weekend, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it'd be
mhm.
fun to at least mention that.
Yeah. I don't know if, boy, that'd be a hard sell. I know he wouldn't have refusal rights to if he was coming back to the Braves in some sort of trade, but. Uh, I got to think Baltimore needs him more than Atlanta does at this point. I don't know that either team is going to be making inroads towards the playoffs this year, but that would be a fun reunion, perhaps. I don't know if Charlie would relish that idea or not, given that Anthopoulos didn't really give him much respect in the last off season. It seems like I I get the impression that once Alex decides that he's going to move on from a player, that player doesn't hear from him, and that's just simply a case of they thought they had their rotation set up, or at least enough guys and arms in their rotation. Obviously, that changed quickly, but Charlie wasn't part of those plans. And perhaps, as I've talked about in the past, Anthopoulos thought he had his ideas on who he wanted to acquire in the offseason, but just wasn't able to pull that off. But nonetheless, didn't go back to get a Charlie Morton. And yeah, perhaps I think he could be forgiven for that because, yes, he's been good lately, but was he good early on? Not so much for Baltimore. And so um, I know that he's going to have his moments. Certainly, some of the guys that they have in the rotation now have had their moments, but all it takes is one inning sometimes, and certainly Bryce Elder knows about that. He usually sails along, giving up zeros for a while, and then there's a 3 or 5 spot up on the board. So um, Charlie Morton's been that kind of a pitcher this year too. So
Yeah.
guys that are over 40, you got to think that they're more prone to break down, and giving them the kind of money that he would deserve in terms of his career uh, just probably wasn't in the cards this offseason.
Yeah, I didn't intend to spend that much time on Charlie Morton. I just thought it was a fun note. I saw his name out there as a potential trade candidate, with the Orioles looking at
Yeah.
maybe being sellers. Although it does bring up a sore spot, I think we all thought Alex Anthopoulos needed to add starting pitching,
Yep.
and one guy I think a lot. I know myself. I had made a list of inexpensive starting pitchers that maybe we should get one of these guys, and one of them at the top of my list was Jose Quintana. And look at him, $4.25 million right now. He's got a three.
Yeah.
What's his ERA? He's a low 3.4 ERA right now. Something like that would have been very helpful, very useful for this team. So hopefully when we reload next year, we bring in some of that veteran starting pitching to supplement what you need to have more than five starters. That's just the
Yeah.
way it is. So anyway, speaking of the starting rotation for the rest of this season, what are we gonna do? I mean, it's there's a lot of holes to fill and a lot of innings still that need to be pitched. I took a look at Gwinnett, Nathan Wiles, and Daniel Davis are having very solid seasons, both in the mid to low threes ERA, with a decent amount of innings between the two of them. And I did note that our friend Jackson Stevens has had his past three outings. He was the starting pitcher, not a reliever anymore.
Ah,
And he's got at least five innings in each start and only allowed, I didn't double check it. I'm pretty sure it was just 2 runs. On the season, he has a 2.94 ERA over 33 and two-thirds innings. Maybe we see a little Jackson Stevens. What do you think? Not just Jackson Stevens or those guys, but what do you think this rotation looks like the rest of the way for the Braves?
I think you're going to see a lot of different names. You're going to see a lot of guys getting their feet wet to the major league level. They're going to there's going to be a bus service between Gwinnett and Atlanta, in all honesty, because I think there's going to be a lot of guys up and down. You're going to see a lot of bullpen games. You're going to see a lot of guys just getting a look see. They'll have the opportunity to show their stuff at the major league level. Maybe some of these guys you'll never see again. Maybe some of these guys will stick. Who knows? But when you've got a situation like this, then yes, you do need innings, you do need arms, you do need. I mean, we just traded for a guy named Hunter Stratton, who was a 16th round pick for the Pirates. We just called up Jesse Chavez. Gee, never heard of that guy before. We're gonna see everybody on deck at various times and various places because you want to protect the guys you still got. You want to be able to get a look at some. It's going to be like spring training, frankly. I think that's the best way to characterize it. You're going to see a lot of four and five pitcher games, and um, that's just going to be the fact that we don't have a lot of starters available in the market. You only got a $2 million cushion before they hit the luxury tax threshold, so you really can't afford to go out and pay for a guy. Even, I mean, Jose Quintana could probably fit, but why? I mean, why do you want to even give up a prospect to do that? Uh,
Right, not
and
now.
so,
Not
yeah,
yet.
so
Not at this
it
point.
so it's going to be all hands on deck, and anybody at any level can probably expect some sort of call. You're going to see a lot of movement between the levels in the minor leagues and the major leagues, and we're just going to see what these guys got. And to the people who like to look at prospects, I think it's going to be exciting and worth watching. But in terms of performance and success, probably not so much. We're just going to bide the
There,
time for the rest of the year.
so there is the silver lining. You bring the silver lining, the sense of hope and optimism for this season is that we're going to get a good look at probably a lot of prospects, get them some valuable experience,
Yep.
and I'll add to that. The Braves are going to be in contention next year. The rotation's going to be stacked. There's going to be, we do have a lot of, we know we have a great core with this team locked up for with long term deals up and down the lineup, both offense and pitching. Um, it maybe we need to reevaluate a few positions, but it's not like a whole rebuild or anything. We're going to be locked and loaded next year, so we can enjoy the rest of the season if they do bow out.
Yeah.
If say maybe they go on some miraculous run. It's not like things like that don't happen, but at this point, it's hard to project something like that happening.
Well, since we only got a couple of minutes to go here, let me tell you about a miraculous ending then. 111 years ago, July 4th, the Boston Braves finished off a 5 game losing streak. That put them 15 games out of first place. But from that point to the rest of the season, they went 68 and 19 and won the division by 10 and a half games over the New York Giants, and they won the World Series. That was the Miracle Braves of 1914. It'll take something like that to get these Atlanta Braves over the top. But sorry, don't see that happening this year. They didn't have
I
Bill
gotta
James
say,
pitching.
that ending and that segue was miraculous. That wasn't scripted or anything. Uh, that was great. Kudos to you. I'll just spend the next minute 53 applauding you. Good job on that. So yeah, I guess this is there's no better way to end it than on that note. That was we ended with positivity on
There we
accident,
go.
and then you pulled out the Miracle Braves for the ultimate positive note. So maybe this will be the good luck charm they need, and they will actually win the division by 10 games thanks to you.
Sounds good, Seth. Appreciate that. We'll look forward to seeing what we see next week with Acuna in the All-Star Games Home Run Derby.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it. So all right, Alan, thanks a lot. We'll meet you here next week.
Sounds good. We'll watch the Home Run Derby together.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you then.
All right, cheers.